Aloha and welcome to Java. It's August 9th, 2024, but better yet, it's Friday. So happy Friday to everybody. Kind of back from where it was in the same dateline as where most of you are. But with this, it's going to be somewhat seems like a light day going into Friday, at least to start with, and hopefully going into the weekend. So starting with the risk right now, still in the high territory, elevated, but nothing massively moving. So even though it's above the 250 level here, as long as there's no major moves, we're also watching the components of this, of course, relative strength of the dollar and the 10-year yield. Now, the 10-year yield is still below the 4%, so 3.969 right now. We also had mortgages. Mortgage rates have fallen below the levels they have for some time, so that is hopefully going to spur some either refinance or people purchasing homes because the real estate is starting to go down as well. So fear grade index, we've got more people coming into the markets. It's still in extreme fear levels though at 24. So what happened with this? We've got stocks right now look like opening green. We've got the volatility index and gold down, as well as oil is pretty flat actually. Looking towards the Middle East, I'm actually surprised oil is not up a bit more on fear over the retaliation and everything else going on there, but we'll talk about that in a bit. So we've got Bitcoin also, cryptocurrencies up above the 60,000 level. Now that's a psychological level, and that was resistance. It appears it's broken through, it's retesting. So we'll see what it does here. But the next level that I'm seeing in the charts, not financial advice, but right around just below 62,000 would be the next area of resistance for it. So it looks like it's building what we would call a bull flag, meaning positive territory for it in general. So I put the Asian market here because Asian markets were up and as well as the European market. So right now it looks all green to open. I think we could have some chop before the weekend. Typically towards the end of the day on Fridays, they try and close out a lot of the orders. So you see more volatility and wild swings as market makers are pulling the maximum amount of money that they can out of the markets. This is in particular true with the leveraged trades or the options market. So they know where the levels are that everybody's sitting, and they try to bounce out those options holders. So with that, we'll see what happens this afternoon. Right now, stocks in the green and futures are in agreement. So we've got dip buyers out in force. And I just left this as a reminder that these markets will not move significantly, particularly down. We've got the plunge protection team, but these markets are managed until November. So any uncanny movements or any out of the realm will not be accepted. They will manage these markets. These are not open markets determining the values. So with this, let's go into, I left the calendar of earnings because today, not much of anything expected. However, next week will be PPI and CPI, so expecting the markets to move those days, but we'll cover that in the looking forward. We've got a few companies that are reporting earnings prior to the market open, but really there's not too much in here. It is now a specific stock moving market again, as it's not as broad as it was. So Palantir, if you're not familiar with this stock, they are involved with the military industrial complex, software, artificial intelligence company, in particular, artificial intelligence information gathering. So actually, I think this company's got a bit of a root of evil to it, but they are now forecasting a partnership with Microsoft, of course. So we've got OpenAI, who is the engine of artificial intelligence, now working with Microsoft, who is in the bulk of all systems, as we just saw with that CrowdStrike taking down. And now you've got Palantir is the software platform that is specific to basically processing all of this information and then putting it into different formats. Basically, they are getting government contracts. So at any rate, they're in a positive section right now. I do expect them to have longer term growth. They are a bit higher right now, so they could have a pullback. However, if you don't have a problem supporting the military industrial complex and you want to invest in a longer term stock, that might be one for you to look into. And I had spoken about them before. So I do want to touch on some things coming out in the headlines. Uh, DT Jr., don't want to say names here because this is another thing I wanted to bring up. The censorship is out of hand. And I'll talk about this in a moment, in particular with X. However, I have to be very careful what I say. So he's launching a crypto platform to take on the banks. So basically, a decentralized financial platform for trading what's going to be whatever cryptocurrencies. So that will be interesting. We've got Darcy, who is the original one with Twitter, shaking up Block. Now, Block also Square, a payment system. So he's making major changes to that to boost sales and innovation, is what it says. But really, what I'm looking at in the back end of this is all of the banking systems as we know it are going to moving more towards these platforms. So Block and all of these other online ones with the trading. So we've got Bank of America and Wells Fargo also in the headline news. And nonetheless, the two top looking to fail together, being investigated for mishandling customer funds and information using the platform Zelle, which is another payments platform. So what the setup is basically shaking these out to see the next one coming up. So with this, back to the censorship, we've got, if you haven't heard of GARM, now this is basically advertising, um, had a little spat with Elon Musk on the X platform, and I think I can still say his name. I think he's still safe. But anyway, there is an antitrust suit over basically censoring again. So he had a little spat with Maduro over the election. So now they're banned for 10 days from Venezuela. So my point in this one is not to go along with this, the elections, the spat, or anything else that happened, whether it was good process or not, is that at the drop of a hat, on the feelings of a particular individual, just because he holds office or position, can shut down what you are allowed to see, the social media, or what else goes on here. And I think that's critical for people to pay attention to. And everyone's really looking at this from the aspect of, oh, Musk versus Maduro. And I think that's really kind of missing the bigger picture. So, censorship, controlling what you're allowed to see, controlling what you're allowed to say, is a major curtailment of freedoms, and moving forward could be very dangerous. So with this, one other thing I would like to mention as far as markets, we've got what they came out with, the CHIPS Act. Now, the CHIPS Act was $39 billion in grants, and I believe it was under the Chips and Science Act. So with this, they have been kind of boosting these chips markets, semiconductors, and putting a lot of money in here. So now that for the most part is gone, that could cause some issues. So if you're looking into getting into this sector, I would just like to urge a little caution. Look at your levels very carefully and reconsider with this in mind, that a lot of the basically government backing, they're just calling it it doesn't matter what they call it. They're pouring tons of taxpayer money into a division and businesses that are already doing well. So yes, I totally disagree with that. Anyway, with this, couple of other things. There's reports that Gmail is down, that there's worldwide outage. No indications as of right now what it's caused by, if it's hacking or some of the service, CrowdStrike, or whatever it might be. And with this, I also wanted to mention, I'd spoken about this yesterday, the earthquake that hit Japan also issued tsunami warnings. But now they're saying that this could be the first signs of a mega quake warning. If you notice that beautiful Mount Fuji in the background, now Japan is volcanic islands, but in the larger picture, they are a chain on the Ring of Fire. And we've got basically sisters to this in the United States, namely Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier out in the west, and all through the activity that is basically increasing. If you're in these areas, I would just urge caution and want you to think about if they should all of a sudden begin erupting, what would you do? How would you position yourself if all of a sudden, wherever it is that you lived, you had to leave and you could take no value from the property itself? What would you hold? Gold, silver, Bitcoin is my choice of things that if I had to move rapidly is what I would take with. Yes, the gold and silver are heavy, but I would rather have those other than having 100% of your basically wealth locked up in one area of real estate. So with that, I wish you all a wonderful trading day and or just a wonderful day in general. Until I see you again, my friends, stay free.